Revenue is vanity, margin is strategy, cash flow is power. Welcome to the Bottom Line Buzz, the podcast where business owners talk about what's really happening behind the scenes. Smart money, real strategy, no smoke.
So are you ready?
I'm so ready. Are you ready?
I'm going to hit record. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to start.
Okay.
I'm not nervous. Are you nervous?
Nope.
Not that
I'm only buzzed.
All right, let's go.
All right. Well, welcome to the Bottom Line Buzz, a podcast where payments, banking, and compliance stop being buzzworthy words and really starts making sense. I'm Jennifer Makris, also known as the Cannabis Cash Queen, joined here with Joe Zahaitis, also known as the Payments Guy. We need a sound. We need sound makers and all the kind of things to make.
I have some of those, and we might be able to play. I don't know if they're going to play, but I have some of them. I don't have them turned up. Oh, that's too funny. There we go. We can have all sorts of stuff in there. We can have clapping. Welcome to the first show. Thanks for joining us. This is a show about us. No, it's actually not. So we're here to talk about all things that are payments. I won't call it payments related, but business related. We're going to have a certain amount of focus in the early days, perhaps on a little bit of cannabis and the cannabis industry, but we're going to be venturing out and branching out from that. I'm still learning. I'll be the first one to admit it. For Makris.
Brilliant. And so what's so funny is as I'm saying Joe Zahaitis, tomato. And we don't want to get the pronunciation all in our, vernacular.
I have been doomed with that name since time eternal, so it's all good.
And you know what? We should tell people about our origin story, because I think that is really the part of the story of how we even got to do a Bottom Line Buzz podcast, because let's be honest, it was an energy match made in heaven the moment we met. And the cannabis industry did bring us together, right? So while we do work, adjacent to the industry, you and I have both started our careers in traditional segments, traditional retail segments, but really specializing in high risk. And so with that comes the collaboration of the Payments Guy and the Cash Queen. And really, we talk about buzzworthy words in the industry. Payments can be so many things, like cash is a payment, the Bitcoin thing is a payment, digital payments.
I love the way she references it, the Bitcoin thing. There's a little more than that. But okay, let's go with that.
And we can always, and our listeners will
have to get into that
tell that I have a bias, whether it's positive or negative, but it's all about the education around types of payments. And regardless of the industry you're in, what type of payments is the most applicable, appropriate, legal, and the best way to transact as a consumer. So we should definitely look to unpack that as we get into our, additional episodes to follow. But this is our coming out party. Woohoo!
That's why you're only seeing the two of us. And I gotta get the teleprompter going, because I'm busy looking at you and I need to be looking at all of them. We're going to have guests on the show as well. We're going to be having a lot of people come on to talk about their input and or what they do in the industry, as well as some of the key factors that kind of surround their businesses. So you're not just going to be listening to the two of us on a regular basis, although who wouldn't want to?
You're right out of my mouth. Who wouldn't want to spend an hour with us?
But let's talk about kind of the genesis, because it was you and I met as a function of the industry. What was the genesis of this show? The genesis of this show was PBC in Washington, D.C., where we set up all of this stuff, and we did the radio show for a half hour. Well, it was more like an hour. And yeah, it was just kismet.
I would like to take credit for the resurrection of your radio show, because you were like, oh my goodness, you would be amazing. And check this out. And you legit had the whole setup. You had the backdrop, the lighting, the microphones, the headphones. Like it was,
Once a geek, always a geek.
I was geeking out over the production because it was a full studio inside the expo hall. And I say expo hall lightly, like it was
it's basically like it's the cocktail area of a trade show banquet hall room, basically. But it was nice.
It was lovely. It was lovely. And we were the highlights.
It did work out well, because when you turn on the Klieg lights and you're doing a show in front of the cameras and you got the mics and the headphones and the whole thing going on, it's a showstopper on the hallway. People are like, what are they doing? It was a good time. We'll have to play a little clip from that just because we can.
That would be amazing. Again, part of our genesis story, our origin story.
There you go.
Love that.
So bottom line buzz, we're going to be talking about the payments industry in a greater, broader sense. And the goal here really is education. That's what it's all about.
Education.
I said that.
It is about education. It is. And again, to my point earlier, consumer driven choices and what the choices are when it comes to payments and really those buzzworthy things. Like I would say that Bitcoin is a buzzworthy topic that we should definitely talk about. And really the opportunities are endless in terms of the subject matter that we're going to uncover.
Well, it's not a crypto show. We can venture down this buzzworthy crypto model right now because I will check my Coinbase account right now. Holy crap. Bitcoin is tanking. Let's see where it's at now. I mean, everybody's saying, oh, it's capital correction. It's not a capital correction. It's flipping tanking.
So like 75K last week, no?
It was down to earlier today. Let's see where it is right now. Hold on. It's coming up right now. It's trading currently at what? No, that's not. Okay, oh, here we go. There it is. Oh, it's back up to 70.
Okay.
It was down at 67.4, and I'm looking at some of the stats a couple hours ago. It was way down. It's coming back up a little bit, but yeah, it's 70. It was about 117 a month or 2 months ago, but it's definitely down. But we're not here to talk about crypto today.
Negative, Ghostwriter. We don't want to scare people off, or maybe that might entice people. Either way, I'm excited to really introduce, you and I and Bottom Line Buzz and all the amazing things that we're going to chat about.
The fun part is where you're going to be able to get a hold of us too. Let's talk about that for a brief. Obviously, We're here wherever you're listening right now. So thank you for being a part of that. But we're going to be on most of, if not all of the major platforms. We're also going to be going live at some point. And where we're going to go live is LinkedIn and YouTube and kind of all over the place. But you'll be able to find us on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Radio. And perhaps just a teaser, maybe on the internet radio station that we have will have. Well, we had a while ago. We're going to have it again. But yeah, we'll be out in a number of places. We'll be able to get us anywhere, wherever you are.
You know what's so funny about the radio station? Celestial radio versus satellite radio, right? So the radio station is
internet radio. So it's
internet.
Neither.
Okay, it's neither. Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of like our payments, right? Like digital, cash, all radio, celestial, internet. Satellite.
5,000 platforms and no one watching.
Right. I love it. How fascinating.
So we're going to be doing this for a while. You're not going to be able to get rid of us. Thank you for being a part of it already. What else do you want to talk about while we're here in this coming out show?
I think topics that are buzzworthy, right? And so I think we should definitely bring to our conversations on a regular cadence, like what is buzzworthy in the news related to payments, traditional retail environments, whether it's the high risk, highly regulated, which is our background. And I would like to talk about our backgrounds, right? So the listeners know, like, how are we suited and positioned to talk about these things? Are we subject matter experts? Are we just, let's throw it against the wall like mama's noodle on a Sunday afternoon? And like, does the noodle stick?
Did you actually do that?
Grandma did.
Did she really?
For sure. My old Italian grandma.
See, we always would take one noodle out and chew it. And it's like, oh my God, it's still crunchy. It's
al dente.
Yeah.
Do you like your noodles al dente?
Not really.
Soft? No. That's like risotto, right? You want to hear a funny story? Oh, my husband and I, it was our anniversary. I think it was like a 10-year anniversary. We're in Vegas. Where do you go? You go to Hell's Kitchen, right? Well,
I love
my husband's a chef by trade, and we watch Hell's Kitchen.
You do not get paid a promotional effort by Hell's Kitchen, just so you're aware.
Correct. Nor is Gordon Ramsay giving me any sort of endorsement compensation for this. Funny story, though. But you always hear on these shows, especially with Gordon Ramsay, about the frickin' risotto, and it's undercooked, or the risotto is a staple. I had the audacity to question the quality of the risotto at Hell's Kitchen in Vegas. My husband was like, oh my gosh, Jennifer, the maitre d' comes over. So kind, so gracious, but it was almost like comical. He was probably like, ma'am, do you really know? Do you have the qualifications and the palate to know if this
don't
risotto?
Even go there. Oh, man.
Right. And we've had dinner together. We've had some lovely, delicious dinners and not so delicious dinners that should have been better than they were. And it was just so funny. And now I look back on that, not with regret, but like, what the hell was I thinking? Look, Jennifer, just eat the risotto. It was amazing. I just had to cause a stink.
Brief Hell's Kitchen story of my own, just because we're on that topic right now. So sure. Girlfriend and I go out there for a trip. I don't remember if it was an anniversary or whatever, but we were out. And to your point, you got to stop at a couple of the restaurants. That would be one of them. Mm-hmm. Amazing old fashioned, comes in a little glass container and it's smoke filled and this whole thing. The table next to us, and thank God I don't know these guys, and you don't have to call them out. It's all good. It just happened. It's Vegas. Let's be realistic. They were so drunk. One guy literally fell out of his chair.
And you were at a fine dining establishment, yes?
I'm sorry, Hell's Kitchen is. It is a fine dining
you were at Hell's
establishment.
Kitchen. Apologies, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, we were at Hell's Kitchen, and the table next was probably 8 guys, and they are beyond drunk. So finally they leave, and this is the awesome Hell's Kitchen part. Maitre d' comes over and says, "We would like to buy your dessert." I'm like, "Well, we would still like to buy your dessert." And I'm like, "Well, I appreciate that." And no more words were said. I mean, he didn't even say he didn't reference why or whatever. Mm-hmm. They helped escort these guys out, but the maitre d' came over to us and said, "We would like to buy you a dessert." And we're all down on her looking at each other going, "Okay, that was actually pretty cool."
Yeah, very cool. Whereas I'm complaining about the risotto, the drunk guy next to you.
I'm trying to end it on a positive note.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to end it on a positive note.
Well, I would say that's more cliche experiences as opposed to buzzworthy, right? But when you are in Vegas, what are like the buzzworthy things to do, right? And I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, well,
so you brought it up. You brought it up. Okay, Jennifer Makris, I would like to know at a 30,000 foot level, maybe down to 20,000 foot. Fine, give me your background.
My background.
Let's hear it.
Had the fortunate experience of growing up in the gaming industry. My parents owned and operated a transportation company that was planes, trains, and automobiles. So they were taking all of the senior citizens by planes and trains and buses to casinos, but not Vegas, smaller regional, like Tupelo, Mississippi,
nice,
Gulfport, Mississippi, Atlantic City. And so I was at a very young age growing up in logistics and transportation, but to take a deeper dive, high risk, highly regulated industries. And I always thought that I was going to be like Paris Hilton, that is. And I was going to take over the family dynasty and be an heiress, an airline heiress. Well, I graduated college and my dad said, I want you to go get real world experience before you come join the family company. Fortune 500, great experience. Yeah, right. I appreciated it. But after, a series of unfortunate events, King Katrina took out the Gulf Coast for a while. Rocket fuel, really, Jennifer? Jet fuel at an all-time high. So some things, transpired. So it was like, stay with that Fortune 500, continue to learn. Had a wildly successful career to where, I just stayed. And then it didn't end up that I took over the family empire. Dad sold it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Everything happens for a reason. But I found myself staying centric in logistics, a service-based industries, and my alignment to cannabis is where I really landed in the last decade, was because no is not an answer for my customers, Joey. Okay, when cannabis legalized in Florida, and the major armored transportation providers synonymous with security, Brinks and Loomis.
You would never mention them by name, but go ahead.
No, we can edit that, right? No is not an answer for my customers. So I organically had this network of cannabis-friendly financial institutions, cannabis-friendly cash and transit providers, and the knowledge base around how to safely and securely handle cash. And by way of that, Joe, the Cannabis Cash Queen was born.
Nice.
And that is, and to date, I still dabble and operate in this space. I more than dabble, but I really understand and appreciate how retail agnostic the expertise around payments and cash handling truly is, and how it truly is applicable across all of those retail verticals. But specifically, I get the feels around highly regulated, highly cash intensive industries.
They're harder, but at the end of the day, they're more rewarding and fun.
So I think I took you from 30,000 feet. We did a soft landing. We did a little runway action. So I went a little bit, not necessarily in the weeds, but that's a little bit about me. Tell me about you.
Okay, here I would like for the listening audience, those who were with us, I've learned things about Jen that I didn't know. So there you go. I mean, I've known you for a while, but I didn't know that. Okay, so now you get to hear me. Ready? You may not know some of this. I was going to be a naval aviator. That was how I started. I went to Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois for flight training. That was my start. Then I was a banker coming out of college because they deregulated the flight industry and there was no way you were going to get a job at a major airline. They said, go ye forth and be a CFI, certified flight instructor, for the next 5 to 15 years. And maybe we'll get around to hiring pilots at some point because we're pulling everybody from the layoff roles and the pilots that are coming out of the military. Well, I wasn't going to go into the military. So I went down a business route, got a degree, did the whole thing, became a banker, interviewed for a position at the company who I didn't even know what they were. Didn't know what. walked in. I won't give you, that'll be for a story for another day in terms of the actual interview, which was a hoot in itself. But it was this company named SPS Payment Systems, which back in the day was Sears Payment Systems. And we were a credit card processing company that competed with J.C. Penney's. So think of Macy's and whoever competes against Macy's. If you know the movie, you know the movie. But I worked for SPS Payment Systems in the petroleum industry. So I was selling payment processing on dial-up terminals to petroleum companies. Yeah, I always joke, I like to say that I started in this industry when Jesus left his sandals in the desert. It's been around for a while. So then I went and I've had a number of awesome positions, awesome jobs, awesome direct report roles where I've managed a number of people. One of the roles I had was I was in working for a small, mid-sized Midwestern bank, First National Bank of Omaha, one of the largest privately held banks out there. And I was selling their ISO program in the general marketplace. Okay. And that was kind of my role. And I signed a guy as his first ISO deal, who is my partner today. So he and I have known each other for 27 years. So I've known him for a long time, and we've been partners. We've been friends for a long time, and we've been doing this for a long time. And that was kind of what started the dialogue that then brought me into this cannabis space, because I had a long history by the time we got together. I had a long history in the payment space. And then I transitioned that into some cannabis expertise. And now it's cannabis, CBD, kratom, seed, crypto. So it's an online gambling, other highly regulated, high-risk industries.
So the buzzworthy term there is high risk, highly regulated. Terms, plural. There are multiple.
And here, the fun part about it is, from my perspective, and again, I've tried to get out of the payments industry twice. I went to outside companies. I got sucked back in again. This is apparently where I'm supposed to be. For as long as I've been in the industry, it changes so often, even in the regular retail world. There's nothing to be bored with. It's not like I'm sure accountants love being accountants, but I could not be an accountant. To me, there's a little state. This changes so often and so much, you can't get bored.
I would agree with that. And for what we do, each state's a little different, right? Yeah. So you need to know the regulation in each state. It's ever changing, and it forces you to be knowledgeable and understand many facets of the industry.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You look at something, and again, we're talking buzzworthy words here. You look at some of the things that are even credit card worthy within some of these highly regulated cannabis adjacent, but not cannabis. My first statement of the day on our coming out party: cannabis and credit card equals no matter what anybody tells you. Just
100%. Yeah.
So, but with what we're going through and the things we're going through right now, even with unscheduled regulation, safer banking, all of which we'll get to as topics that are both buzzworthy as well as topical elements. We want to have a couple experts on to talk about that a little bit, but there's a lot still going on. It's awesome.
It is really awesome. And we're part of the movement. And what is exciting is that our fingerprints are woven into this prohibition, or coming out of prohibition of cannabis. And we're part of a story. We're part of the history. And that, to me, is so exciting. And to know that, not that I'll be in the school books for my grandkids, in school, but to know that I had something that was first of our generation, right?
Well, you stood for something that, true to your point, is, again, I don't care where other people fall on this, whether you like it or don't like it, is still is a movement that is out there. People didn't like alcohol for a period of time. It didn't stop it. Same thing, I think, in the context of the nature of this plant, the product, and its capabilities. You can't stop it. It's it's out of the box. It's time to start figuring out how we're going to embrace it as an entity, as a society.
I can't wait to unpack that again. Future episodes, we need to make a mental and verbal note of, all these really awesome things that we're just kind of shooting and spitting out there, because they're buzzwords worthy, they're relevant, they're topics of conversation. And one thing I'd like to put on the record is to come back to, here we go, and I can speak to this because, I'm a younger lady in my early 40s, and I really did experience the use of cannabis in a different lens in my 20s, right? Well, a productive, one would say, consumer of, but it was through the lens of recreational adult use. having been immersed in the industry, my perspective and knowledge around the payments, the legitimacy, the above board transactions, but the medicinal properties that you just mentioned.
That was actually where I got my start when I first started working with my, Brett is his name. When I started working with Brett back in the day, the first things we were doing is a lot of the places we were going and they were specifically focused on the medicinal natures of it. Sure, there was a recreational element, but they were focused on, and I got to see firsthand how it helps. Man, that was a life changer for me.
Definitely. And being able to speak to my stepdad, my father, for instance, who is on, he went to, oh gosh, Woodstock, for goodness sakes, right? So goodness knows what he did while he was listening to
I'm sure
Hendrix.
He was only drinking tonic water and hanging out, I'm sure.
And look, he's a saint, right? Got the halo over his head and everything. However, fast forward to 2026, he is someone that suffers from chronic pain, COPD, drugs and drug painkillers out the wazoo, right? And here I am just bringing the knowledge that I have from the industry and saying, Dad, wow, your kidneys are messed up because of all these drugs you're on. And you're having to take all this medication and you can't sleep at night. And these cocktails of pharmaceuticals, he may or may not have finally taken my word or advice and ate a CBD, which is completely illegal. You can cross state lines with that, all the things, right? But slept for the first time, I think he said 8 hours, right? Through the night, pain-free, game changer. So to have a success story for someone that's so near and dear to you, to be open enough to look at the medicinal, again, changing the perspective, right? People aren't just using it to get effed up and high and It's really, it was put on.
You're welcome to, and it's fine. I will say it's not my jam either, but I also don't really drink anymore in life, except when I go out with you on occasion.
You mean with Donna, and I rarely drink, but when I'm with you, I'll have a social glass of whatever, right? Because I don't want to be, but to that point, more and more people look buzzworthy alcohol sales. We should unpack that. The trajectory of lack of trajectory that alcohol sales are experiencing and the pressure on the alcohol industry. People are finding alternatives that make you feel better, that you don't feel like crap the next day, that are safer, that are healthier. Like, it's very interesting to see the education available. The research will follow, right? As it becomes more federally rescheduled, descheduled, unscheduled, to your point. But more and more people are open to the conversation about a healthier alternative. And so I think it's very fascinating.
If you look at, again, I have adult children as a part of my life, and it's not that they're big consumers, but they both drink. They're both of age. They're in their 30s. Yes, I'm that old. But they're both of age, and they prefer a gummy to alcohol. And not just because of the not hangover from their perspective. They prefer the calm feel they get in the context of the consumption. So they're not doing it to get hardcore high like I did in college to get hardcore drunk.
Right.
But they're doing it. The nature of the product set is changing. And I think, to your point, in terms of as a topic to cover, maybe we'll get someone on from the alcohol industry.
Yep.
I think that is causing a tectonic shift in the consumerism of just products in general. And cannabis is one of those that needs to be taken account of.
Bring this full circle back to bottom line buzz and buzzworthy topics and payments. I had a sit down conversation with actually one of my old customers from that first gig right out of college that I shared with you, right? And I was actually looking for a venue to host an industry networking event, so a professional networking event. And he has always been involved in like
industry, cannabis centric, or just industry?
Cannabis-centric, professional cannabis networking organization.
The reason I say that is I have seen where that has caused issues, but maybe you're about to get to that.
Yeah. Actually, let's do a plug now because you experienced it in person at my invitation. So the C-Lab organization, the Cannabis Law, Accounting, and Business organization that I give so much credit to building my brand in the space. C-Lab's been around for 10 years now. And they bring together business-centric entities that support and serve the cannabis industry. First event that I ever attended had me brush shoulders and be in the room with every C-suite multi-state operator in the state of Florida, that were headquartered in Florida and beyond. So it was very, very cool. So I give a lot of credit to that organization. And I started out by hosting all the chapter meetings across the states. And I was looking for a venue to support, that they were cannabis friendly, but not necessarily for consumption on site. Because what you will find is that at these events, they're not a bunch of stoners or hippies coming to get high. We're converging together to have, business conversations and a business environment to network. So, of course, we prefer to that venue to be, cannabis friendly, but again, not necessarily for consumption, because we want to be mindful of the other consumers and other, patrons. All of that to say, Joe. So I sit down with Mr. Ferguson, and I say, well, Jennifer, what have you been up to all these years? I haven't seen you. Da, 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 da. And I say what I'm up to. He goes, oh, I just had my old buddy come, and he wants to open up a smoke shop across the street. He's like, but I'm really in. He's a sports bar. USA Today named him the #1 sports bar in America in 2025.
Good for
Look
him.
it up, Ferg Sports Bar. And Mark Ferguson. And so I wanted to have an event here. And he said, what do you think about this? What do you think about the kratom industry? Got a buddy in kratom. Farmer. And what do you think about these drinks? He goes, I love being able to provide these patrons an alternative to traditional alcohol. And more people have been asking, again, consumer demand for these hemp-derived beverages. And now distributors are starting to carry them, right? His distributors for, beer, wine, liquor. All of that to say is he's getting a demand for it, but he has to have it in a separate POS and a separate payment process. So again, what we can talk about again another time is how these alternatives are able to or not able to be sold in tandem with alcohol at an establishment. What kind of licensing do you have to have? Does it have to be in a separate POS? In some states, yes. So again, all these nuances.
You have states that are actually outlawing the nature of a THC-infused beverage product, and I happen to live in one of those states. Yeah. And why I find it interesting, and that it's what's awesome, is their coming out party. And I'm literally making mental notes of the topics. I think we're done for the year. I think we have pretty much every topic that could be covered, because as I'm going through this, that's one.
Yeah, for sure.
There are strong stances, and I won't be a guy to have a strong stance on one side, but we'll have a guest on so I don't have to be the only one with that strong stance on the nature of THC-infused. I have no problem with THC-infused beverages. Where they're derived from, sometimes I have an issue with, but that's all. We'll have that as a topic.
Yeah. All right. Well, talk about a cliffhanger.
Everyone knows it. Anybody who knows this industry knows exactly where I'm going with this, but that's okay. We'll get there. So yeah, and I think we'll have industry, obviously, experts. I know that we are a part of a couple of, you are, I think, as well, some of these national organizations in the cannabis industry, and I would like to get some people from those on as well. We've already been in conversations with a few of them. And maybe we'll get together. Are we in Albuquerque again this year for that thing?
We are. Yep.
Okay.
I can't wait to go back. So beautiful.
Is it the same place?
It is.
Okay.
I've got some other updates for that. And I will do some R&D for Bottom Line Buzz at an event that I will be attending the latter part of the month. And it is the Alt Bev Expo. And poor planning on the organizers of these two events. There's an alternative beverage expo, which will be all the alternate energy drinks, health drinks.
Where?
Miami.
Shit. Okay. Because I was at one in Chicago 2 years ago. I thought maybe it was here.
No, it's West Palm. And then, so that's like the 27th, 28th. On the 25th and 6th, so the 6th, because they overlap a day, which again, to my point about poor planning on their part. But it used to be CanRon down in Miami, and it's now called the CanBev Summit. So I look forward to deploying my resources from an R&D perspective. Just called me, do you like the turn of the microphone? I caught myself. Just call me Inspector Jennifer.
That's right. No, research. She's Research Jennifer.
Research.
Deep dive.
All for our listeners. The things I will do for the Bottom Line Buzz listeners, they are important to us. We want to provide value, education, real-time information, and all the trends, both in the industry that we're just referencing, but again, all retail segments.
We're gonna go outside.
We'll go outside.
There's a lot to talk about. So, Jennifer.
Yes. Joseph.
We need to find a better way of wrapping this up, because we're literally coming up on where we should be on the wrap up. But I can't say, how do people get a hold of you? Because I'm supposed to be the one saying that. So If you want to get a hold of Jennifer, you can find her at Jennifer at cannabiscashqueen.com.
I need a tiara. Can you make that happen?
I will definitely make that happen. I even know the person I'm going to go to get that purchased for you. And you know her too.
Mm-hmm.
We will get you that tiara. It might have to be a next episode thing. Go ahead.
All right. Well, as equally as important for people wanting to get in touch with me, they need to know how to get in touch with you. So what's great about you, it's very simple. JoeZahaitis.com. Whoop, whoop, right?
No, it's actually Zahaitis.com, but it's Joe at Zahaitis.com. It's because I own the domain, because there's not a lot of me on the planet.
There's only one of you.
5 of me. Brother, sister, 2 kids. I guess 6, and mom. Me and mom. So thank you all for being here. We are the Bottom Line Buzz. This is our coming out party. We got a lot of topics to cover, and it's going to be a long, I won't say a long slog, but it's going to be a long year because you're going to be hearing from us a lot. Thank you for being a part of us. Thank you for being part of the coming out show. We will see how this all comes out of the can once we get done with it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
That's today's buzz. If your business handles cash payments or compliance, this is your room. Like, subscribe, share, and remember, revenue is loud, but the bottom line is what counts.